I'll be spending the next 100 days in Pixelmon hunting down a special list of Pokemon called the Wanted 11. If you haven't seen my first video, the Wanted is a unique idea created by me where I randomly generate 11 Pokemon and have to hunt them down by the end of the 100 days. The Pokemon I rolled are Rotom Wash, Mewtwo, Sceptile, Paldean Wooper, Iron Thorns, Mamoswine, Sylveon, Hisuian Zoroark, Dawnwing's Necrozma, Malamar, and finally, Mega Aerodactyl. This is gonna be a super tough challenge with lots of legendaries, so let's get started. Okay, choosing our starter is gonna be a super important decision. I know I can pick Trico, which is on the list, but I'm not gonna be cheap about it, so I'll go with Torchic instead. In this video, I name every Pokemon I catch after a subscriber of mine, so J-Man, you are the chosen one. Looking at the wanted list, the hardest Pokemon to find are Mewtwo, Necrozma, and Iron Thorns. I'm gonna have to fuse two different legendaries together to get Dawnwing's Necrozma. And then there's Mewtwo. It doesn't even spawn, but can only be obtained while cloning Mew in a machine. So the first thing I wanted to do is find a jungle biome since Mew only spawns around there. And I gotta say, I got pretty lucky as I found it within the day. All I had to do now was find the particular biome called Modified Jungle and set up a home. I needed to spend as much time here for Mew to spawn, and the nice thing is that Trico also spawns in the area, so we can get two birds with one stone. Around my house I saw some pretty pissed off looking shelter, and an unknown temple. It was holding some secret that I couldn't figure out, but the Pokeloot in there was clutch, as it gave me an XP all. 3 days in and I couldn't have asked for anything more. I wanted a nice open area for Pokemon to spawn, so the lake was a great place for me to build in since cutting down trees isn't really my thing. I'm a good citizen. Along the way, we've been hard at work training up Torchic, going up against level 1 trainers, intimidating grass types, and finally, all that hard work paid off when I fed it some candy and it evolved into a Combuskin. Running around looking for new biomes wasn't my best option. To speed things up, I wanted to catch a flying type to fly around the region, and I had my eyes on a Starly, and caught it fairly easily, but what showed up in my party wasn't a Starly at all. Ditto has like a 1% chance of reverting its transformation while disguising itself as some basic Pokemon in the wild, and I was kind of forced to name this thing, so Kevin Fosh it is. To make things right, I caught an actual Starly right after, named it Pekwan, and by the way, we are so close to hitting 10,000 subscribers on the channel, so if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing. Looking at the wanted list, the easiest Pokemon to find is Paldean Wooper. They spawn in swamps and marshes, so I searched all night and finally came across one. It is seriously one of the cutest Pokemon ever, and I was really happy when it showed up on the list. I nicknamed it Chuya, and honestly, it's sticking on my team till the very end. With that, we had officially taken our first Pokemon off the board. What do people say nowadays? Work smarter, not harder? I don't know if this is what they meant. I started working on getting resources to craft some Pokeballs and more importantly, a healing machine. After I had that up and running, I started finding some really weird forms of Pokemon that are not a thing in the real games. I feel like the Pixelmon devs just keep adding different forms and don't tell anybody about them. After battling so many wild Pokemon, Staravia evolved into Staraptor, so now I could fly across the region on its back. Wooper also tried evolving, but I wasn't ever gonna let that happen. The very next boss Pokemon that I fought gave me an Everstone, which is exactly what I wanted as it stops Pokemon from evolving. Within a day of exploring, I found a snowy biome, and since I needed a Mamoswine, I took a pit stop as Swinub happened to spawn here quite often. All I had to do was take my pick and catch one of them. Swinub was already level 33, so I only needed one more level to evolve it into a Piloswine. Evolving it into a Mamoswine can be kinda tricky though, since it needs to level up while learning the move Ancient Power, and it only learns it at level 1. Yeah, you see my problem now? The only way you can get it back is through breeding or a move relearner. Oh, I'll take a Rocky Helmet. It would go great with my Intimidate Staraptor. When I was back at the base, a Litten spawned, which was unfortunately not the starter that we wanted to see. But little did I know that a second later, a whole ass Mew would spawn. I was shitting my pants since I didn't expect one to spawn this early, and at the very least, I thought it would be a different legendary like the Zarude that spawned on the night of day 7. I was so underprepared that I was just ready to burn it and wait for another one to spawn, but I decided to take my chances with it, and in the battle, the only move it seemed to have was Ancient Power, so it wasn't a threat to my team. I brought it down in the red with Blaziken, and then used Wooper's Yawn to put it to sleep. I threw a Great Ball as it was the best one that I had. Are you for real? How even? I somehow caught Mew, a legendary Pokemon, with the first ball that I threw. I was honestly just confused, and with this capture, we were one step closer to getting a Mewtwo. I named it after Alyssa Brickman, or A.B. Rickman for the fun of it. While proudly showing it off, I noticed that a Grovyle was just chilling in the background. This was another Pokemon that we needed, so I challenged it to a battle. Somehow this level 17 Grovyle was more annoying to catch than Mew. It kept killing my Wooper, which was the only way to put it to sleep. Finally having caught it, I named it Neha, so now, all I had to do was evolve it. Right next to the jungle was a savanna with plenty of apricorn trees, so I went to collect them so that I could grow some at my base. While doing so, I saw a bit of a sparkle on the other tree, and what do you know? It's a shiny Vullaby. I've never really used a Mandibuzz before since they evolve at level 54 or something crazy like that. I named it Undead, and I hope to replace my Staraptor with it once it actually evolves. Let's be real, my Mew in its current state is weak as hell, and apparently it doesn't learn any good attacking moves until level 90. Thankfully, Mew's the only Pokemon that can learn every single move in the game through TMs. So I headed to the Pokemart and saw what they were selling. The moves they had weren't that great, so I bought some empty TRs instead. If you give your Pokemon an empty TR and make them use the same move 25 times, it gets imprinted on it. And in this way, I was able to teach it Close Combat from Staraptor, Sludge Wave from Wooper, and Energy Ball from Grovyle. Grovyle was so close to evolving, so I fed it some candy which got it up to level 36. And just like that, we got ourselves a Sceptile, and it's the second Pokemon to be removed off the board. Holy crap, Wooper is getting overpowered by the second. First Poison Jab and now Earthquake? Man, I love him. Soon after, we found one of the Towers of Water, and at the very top is an old man who is wiser than time itself. He can help relearn moves that my Pokemon may have forgotten, and this old fool was the key to unlocking Piloswine's evolution. I could teach it Ancient Power and then finally evolve it into the Woolly Mammoth. We can now cross off Mamoswine from the list as well. I started prepping for the cloning of Mew, so I had to get resources like obsidian, emeralds, and aluminum to craft a machine. The way cloning works is that you are able to throw a Mew into a machine up to a maximum of 3 times, and every time you do so, you have a chance of getting either a Mewtwo or a Ditto. Now the chances of getting one are based on the type of mineral you power the machine with. 3 diamond blocks gives the best odds with a 37.5% chance, while 3 iron blocks gives you a measly 7.5%. So I definitely had to go the diamond route, but the only way I could get 27 diamonds is with the help of a fortune pickaxe. So I started collecting sugarcane and leather as I needed them to craft bookshelves. Pokemon like Blitzel and Rhyhorn dropped quite a bit of them. During all this time of collecting resources, I was also figuring out what Pokemon I wanted to hunt next. I thought Hisui and Zora would be a cool addition to the team. They spawn in snowy taiga biomes at night, but as an ultra rare spawn. So I spent every night in the cold taiga, but couldn't find one. What I did find though is a rather rare biome. Mount Lanakila has these Christmas trees that have chests filled with rare candies inside. This was my chance to farm as many as I could and get a bit ahead in the game. The other thing that I found was Santa's workshop, which was a blessing. I could steal so much good stuff like the anvil and enchantment table. He also had both the Mach and Acrobikes from Pokemon Emerald, which is amazing. To top it all off, there was also a washing machine that I could grab. Some of you may be confused as to why I even want that. Well, If you fuse Rotom with a washing machine, it turns into Rotom Wash, which is one of the Pokemon I need. I got an ability patch from beating an Arctozolt raid den, and it just so happens that Blaziken has one of the best hidden abilities in the game, so there was no other option than to change its ability from Blaze to Speed Boost. A pretty rare creature was roaming around back in my base, and then it finally hit me. That is a shiny Whirlipede. The Venipede line is one of my favorite bug types, so I was so excited to catch a shiny version of it. No freaking way. It has Speed Boost. That's its hidden ability. And its adamant nature? Okay, I need somebody to calculate the odds of that and put it in the comments. That's 1 in 4096 for the shiny, 1 in 150 for the hidden ability, and 1 in 25 for the nature? I nicknamed it Flake, and since bug types evolve pretty quickly, I could do the same and get myself an awesome looking Scolipede. I know I keep doing this every video, but like, growing berries to craft type spawning lures are such a game changing mechanic. I'm basically making an item to increase the spawn rates of ghost types, and since Hisuian Zora is the only ghost type that spawns in the area, I found it within minutes once I started searching. You know what? Void Frosty actually fits it as a nickname. Shiny Mandibuzz is basically just regular Mandibuzz soaked in the blood of its victims. The cloning of Mew was soon to begin. Having crafted all the items necessary, I placed down the cloning machine and threw Mew in there just to show you what we're dealing with. The only thing I needed were 3 diamond blocks, but that wouldn't be a challenge either now that I have the Pickaxe of Dreams. While searching for diamonds, I was able to evolve my cute little Zorua into a menacing Zoroark, and this is probably one of my favorite Pokemon from the newer games. We can now strike off Zoroark from the list as well. Got the 3 diamond blocks that I needed, but before starting the cloning process, I leveled up my Pokemon with as much XP candy that I had in the scenario that I somehow get a Mewtwo and not a Ditto. Here we go. 37.5% chance for a Mewtwo? Holy crap! We actually got it! First try! At this point, I was panicking. I for sure thought it was gonna be a Ditto. I went and grabbed as many extra Pokeballs that I had in my chest, got some stronger Pokemon out of the PC, and healed my whole team. I wasn't ready, but I had no other choice than to battle it. It had a pretty weird yet annoying moveset. The only attacking move it had was Aura Sphere, which my team resists pretty well, but with it using Nasty Plot to raise its special attack, Laser Focus to get a critical hit every single time, and using Recover to gain half its health back, the odds were stacked against me. I had to heal my team and re-engage it in battle multiple times. I was running out of decent balls to use as well, so the only chance I had was if I brought it down to 1 health. But in doing so, Mew's close combat killed the Mewtwo. And we're now back to square one. I was very underprepared for that battle, and I had to make sure I was ready for next time. As I said earlier, Mew can be cloned a maximum of 3 times, so even with 1 try down, we still had a chance. I wanted a wave of fresh air, so I decided to start my hunt for Mega Aerodactyl. Well, first of all, I had to find the Amber Fossil to revive Aerodactyl, so my journey took me to the bottom of the ocean. Fossils generate in large gravel patches, and the deep sea was the perfect place for me to look. Having a fortune pickaxe also helped me since I can get multiple different fossils from the same block. After my first batch of cleaning fossils, I basically had every single fossil Pokemon besides Aerodactyl. Oh, this is definitely the one. You can tell by just how slim and smooth it is. All I had to do now was throw it into the machine and wait for the revival to finish. Aerodactyl was now a member of the team, so I named it Zachary. We still had to find the Megastone for it though, so we're gonna have to take a pause on this quest for now. Some of you may have noticed that Zarude spawned. It's a mythical Pokemon, but it sucks, so I'm not gonna keep giving it more screen time. I thought catching a Scyther would be a pretty good bet for me if I wanted to have a better chance of catching Mewtwo. I could teach it Fault Swipe, which is a move that brings a Pokemon down to 1 HP, and it also happens to resist Aura Sphere really well. To my surprise, we yet again got lucky with a leftover drop from a Master Ball loot, I'm used to getting more screwed over, so something doesn't feel right. After failing Mewtwo and having to wait around for a Mega Aerodactyl, I wanted to get an easy Pokemon off the board. Although almost all of them are pretty rare, so I went off to a birch forest to find everyone's lovable Eevee. 2 days later, we were able to catch one, so I named it Amber. The nice thing is that I've been prepping all the items I need for it to evolve. These berries help to raise its happiness, so all I had to do was shove a whole stack of them down its throat and it was ready to evolve. Eevee evolves into Umbreon at night and Espeon in the day with high friendship, so what exactly differentiates it from Sylveon? Eevee needs to have a fairy type move at the point of leveling up to evolve into Sylveon, so now that I had baby doll eyes, it was time to evolve it. I may have forgotten something else. Apparently, it needed to evolve in a flowery biome, so how was I meant to do that now that I don't have a frickin' Eevee? What I do have though is an Umbreon and a Ditto. I hope you see what I'm getting at. Even though Umbreon is a male, I can breed it with a Ditto to get an Eevee egg, and this way is so much more fun than just waiting around for another Eevee to spawn. You think I'm buying one of those when there's a perfectly good breeding block right here? People can be such jerks sometimes. Having placed them inside the breeding block, there were a few conditions I had to meet first. Basically had to get all these blocks listed here so that these two lovebirds can get to smooching. While getting hay bales, I wandered upon an unsuspecting shiny. What was this, my third shiny Pokemon? This ain't even a goal, but I'll take it. The only block I needed now was a skeleton skull. Now, where am I supposed to find one of those in the Pokemon world? Oh, would you look at that? I don't know how you got there, but let's just grab you and throw you in the machine. Umbreon and Ditto were going at it now, so the egg would be ready in exactly 3 hours. I don't know about you, but I'm gonna take a nap. Whew, okay, it's been exactly 3 hours and now the egg is ready to be collected. The best way to hatch it is just running around, even though the best way in the games is through the bite. So in the meantime, I might as well get the diamonds for another shot at Mewtwo. I was basically ready to begin cloning Mew again, only this time, I crafted a buttload of balls with the addition of timer balls, cause these battles are definitely going over 30 turns. I also used all my rare candies on Scyther, taking it close to level 80. Just when I was about to begin, another Mew spawned. Catching this Mew was important, as I could only clone my AB Rickman 2 more times, and if I get Ditto on both occasions, then would be a complete bust. Yet again, I managed to catch it with my first Pokeball, and that got me thinking, what exactly is Mew's catch rate? For comparison, Mewtwo's catch rate is 3, Mew's is 45, and Mantike is 25. You're telling me it's supposed to be easier to catch a mythical Pokemon than a frickin' baby? Okay, what are we getting? What are we getting? No way! No way! We got a Mewtwo for the second time in a row! This Mewtwo had Life Dew, which still heals it but isn't as annoying as Recover. And it also only had ancient powers and attacks, so I kinda just got to stall it out. This time, I paralyzed it and then began throwing balls like my life depended on it. Yes, we finally caught Mewtwo. There was only one name that fit, Goat Plays. This was a massive turn in the 100 days, as we can now strike Mewtwo off the board. Soon after, my egg started hatching, and it showed off this cool animation that I had never seen before. It may be new to some of you as well, but what this meant is that I got myself a baby Eevee. I followed the same procedures, but only this time, I made my way to a flower forest and leveled it up with a rare candy. Sylveon was now brought into the world, and was the evolution we needed to cross another Pokemon off the list. I then decided to hunt the easiest Pokemon remaining on the wanted board. Inkay, the squiddalicious fool, spawns in beach biomes only during the afternoon, but they are fairly easy to come by. The only reason I held off on catching this thing is, well, in the main games, it has a pretty weird evolution mechanic. You had to hold your Nintendo 3DS upside down while leveling it up to get yourself a Malamar, and I was pretty confused on how that would work in Pixelmon. But in reality, the devs decided to give it a different yet obscure way to evolve. I had to level it up while being above the wild level of 130. Sure, it doesn't sound as fun, but what could they really do? With that evolution, I got myself a Malamar, and we had quickly gotten rid of 3 Pokemon from the board, which means we only had 4 remaining. I was able to get a Wakan berry from defeating a Bibarel. It's a berry that's used in making electric lures, which would help in the hunt for both Rotom and Iron Thorns. The mountainous area is the only place where Mega Aerodactyl spawns, so I kept training there every morning while I went to the dark forest at night in the hopes for Rotom to spawn. While training, I saw a hint of a sparkle in the background. It turned out to be a shiny Knackli, which should honestly just be the mascot for Pokemon in Minecraft. You don't even have to change its design. Minecraft XP was a good fit for the nickname and was a cinch to evolve all the way up to a Garganacl. I mean, we already have a Mewtwo, so is there really any point in catching more Mews? Yeah, about that. At this point, I might as well go for a Mew-only team. Did I ever mention that I made a nether portal? Well now you know. I was roaming around inside to get my hands on blaze powder from beating all the fire types, but while doing so, I finally found my first wild Mega Pokemon. Mega Sableye is more of the defensive type, so without the move Recover, it was always gonna be on the losing side. We put on our pair of Mega Glasses, so now we only need the Aerodactylite. Iron Thorns is a paradox Pokemon. For being such a rare find, it only spawns on the small end islands, which are only accessible after defeating the Ender Dragon and beating the game. So I needed to craft Eyes of Enders and activate the portal. But for now, I only had 1 Ender Pearl, so I managed to locate the stronghold without a single eye ever breaking. I still had to get 10 more Ender Pearls for the portal, so we had to take a pause on that quest for now. For the most part, I was camping every night in the dark forest with an electric lure on for Rotom to spawn, but surprisingly, out of nowhere, a Necrozma spawned instead. I didn't even know it spawned in the same biome, but this was my chance. I'm gonna be honest, it was a pretty basic catch, but the best part about it is that it came with the item and Lunalizer. More on that later. I named it We Doin' It cause we were about to make some serious moves. Now that I have Necrozma, it gives me access to a very special ability that very few Pokemon have. I was able to summon Ultra Wormholes at any point of time, so after seeing that Rotom can spawn in Ultra Space, I made a dash for it. Just as I spawned in, a level 100 Corviknight flew right past me like it was nothing. I haven't been to Ultra Space in a long time, and I think it's pretty obvious how much has changed since I was last here. The devs were able to add 2 new biomes, one being the Ultra Crater which we were spawned in. It has these craters with water which suck you right in and can trap you, but at the very bottom you can find chests with some great tools. I personally found a Sacred Ash which allows you to revive your whole party with a single click. Considering that challenging any Pokemon in here to a battle can lead to a 5v1, it was a pretty neat item. The structures that look like pipes in here hold plenty of secrets and loot. From Ultra Beast loot to traps set for the likes of Indiana Jones. I spent quite a lot of time here since I was able to find cool new forms of Pokemon like Bagon, but more importantly, Pokemon like Elgium dropped Ender Pearls upon death. While farming for them, a Pokemon spawned out of nowhere, and I think it's a pretty important one. What are you talking about? There's no way Cosmog spawns in here. The reason I was so excited was because Cosmog is the only legendary that evolves through level up into either Solgaleo or Lunala, and we needed Lunala so that we can fuse it with Necrozma to get Dawnwing's Necrozma. I went into battle, and it just so happens that it turned into a horde battle. Now I had to deal with 4 other Pokemon that I didn't care about. I Dynamaxed my Blaziken and aimed my max move at the Heatmore, but for some reason, Cosmog took the hit instead and fainted tragically. I was so confused with what just happened. I literally aimed my move at Heatmore and it killed Cosmog instead. To test it, I aimed my move at the 4th Pokemon, indicated by the white arrow below it, but for some reason it killed Heatmore instead. That was such a bugged battle. All I know is that I got scammed out of a legendary. It wasn't important at the time, but to add to my elite list of shinies was also a Stunky. Might not be the best Pokemon in the world, but the shiny is much more vibrant than most other Pokemon. My next destination in Ultra Space was the Ultra Plant biome, which is the second newest addition. Home to these huge circuitry-like structures, combined with a lack of vision, it makes it quite an ominous place. We wanted to be in this area since Rotom spawns here, but interestingly, we found these fusions of Pokemon that seem to be mutated with the electricity in the biome. From Pokemon like Curlia, Eevee, to even Porygon and Yamper. The circuitry-like structures had valuable blocks like ancient debris and diamond blocks underneath them. But if you were to try and find what is hidden beneath, you will be met with a strike of lightning just like I did. I mean, who didn't see this coming, huh? It's kinda like your biome. Sure, a circuitry did spawn, which is pretty sick. I mean, it's not like I killed it on accident or anything. Thanks to our electric lure, Rotom spawned pretty quickly, which meant all we had to do was catch it and give it a fiery name. I didn't want to waste any more time, so I went back home and ejected it out of its Pokeball onto the washing machine I got from Santa's workshop. This allowed me to change its form from Rotom to Rotom Wash and get the move Hydro Pump. With that, Pokemon number 8 was off the list, and that left us with some pretty difficult hunts. I returned to the stronghold with plenty of Ice Bender to activate the portal and make my way into the End Dimension. Inside, I was met with a barrage from the Ender Dragon, and in the most heroic of fashion, I swooped in on my shiny Mandibuzz and shot down every single crystal healing the dragon, which only left the beast itself. With every snipe, every blow from my axe, the dragon was getting weaker and weaker until it exploded into a million pieces, now giving me access to the Outer End Islands. I went into the portal and was met with a bunch of new biomes in the end that I had never seen before. That was a nice touch, but not really what we needed. The small End Islands were the only biome that spawned all the Paradox Pokemon. I put on my electric lure as Iron Thorns is both a rock and electric type and would hopefully be the first Paradox Pokemon to spawn in front of me. To make things easier, I mined blocks to expand my island, leaving small holes in between to shoot and punch Pokemon off the edge to get quicker spawns. Oh yeah, the bow can kill Pokemon with a single shot, which makes it all the more fun to use. Just when I looked back, I saw a neon green monster in the distance, and that was the exact Paradox Pokemon that we needed. Caught it like the boss that I am, and the only nickname that fit the creature was this. I mean, it's as mysterious and robotic as it gets. With that, we were 9 down with only 2 remaining. I went back to the mountain since the highest level trainers spawn here, and since I had to defeat a Mega Aerodactyl boss to get the Aerodactylite, I might as well have taken the time to level up my Mons. As I was ascending a chamber, I saw one flying away. I quickly got on my Pokemon and took to the skies to challenge it to a battle. Mew and Mewtwo made easy work of it, so I was able to get my hands on the Megastone. Although my Aerodactyl was only level 8 at the time and kept losing to every wild bug type, which is super shameful. But after a few tries, I finally got it to Mega Evolve outside of battle. Now we only had one more hunt remaining to complete our goal. Since I needed Cosmog to get myself a Lunala, I went back to Ultra Space and sat on my ass until one decided to spawn. I think it might be the only legendary that can spawn in this dimension, so it gave me a higher chance than the normal world. While in battle with the boss, the tiny little legendary finally showed itself. You would think that it would be an easy capture since it's so weak and only has 2 moves in its entire move pool, especially since one of those is Splash. But the other one was Teleport, which kept making it end the battle and moving to a different space on the map. So my best bet was hoping that it used Splash twice in a row while I waited for Wooper's Yawn to put it to sleep. After a few attempts, it finally worked and I was able to catch the little guy. Arvindevera is now the newest Pokemon, and all that I was left with was leveling it up using the huge pile of candy that I had remaining. The first stage at level 43 being Cosmoem, while the second involved me waiting for nighttime to evolve it at level 53 into a beautiful Lunala. You might be wondering how I even get Dawnwing's Necrozma. Well, it involves fusing Necrozma and Lunala with an item called the Lunalizer. And it just so happens that Necrozma was holding the very item when I first caught it. So all I had to do was fuse them together to form Dawnwing's Necrozma. With that transformation, I could strike off the last Pokemon off the board, and I had successfully completed the hunt for the Wanted 11 and can finally put this video to bed. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to support me and my dream. Make sure to leave a comment or a nickname for Pokemon if you wanted to be on the next video. With all that being said, I'll see y'all next time. That's what we talking about, yeah, yo. Yeah, yeah.